Viewer discretion is advised. More details can be found in the description. Anyone who can't see the jokes in Brickleberry coming from a mile away has probably also gotten stuck in a room because there weren't any instructions for the doorknob.
Connie is not a freak!
Lucas, let me take your picture with the big ugly freak.
I get it, because of how that was the opposite of the thing that she said, and also something bad happened to one of the punching bag characters, because that's comedy. Brickleberry is one of those shows. A show that's noticed a lot of common tropes within adult animated comedy and replicated them as if the tropes on their own are the jokes. Like, we're all familiar with the concept of a punching bag character, right?
Dad! What is it? What's going on? I heard a noise. Is somebody downstairs?
Oh God, Meg, you startled me.
In fact, a lot of us are far too familiar with the concept. When I recently praised the show Smiling Friends for being great, I had loads of people in the comments telling me how refreshing it was to see a comedy show that didn't have either a punching bag character or a cynical character whose main role in the show is to dunk on things and say it how it is and deliver harsh truths. The trope of having a punching bag character isn't an inherently bad idea, but it also isn't inherently funny on its own. In Rick and Morty, Rick and Jerry often fall into the roles of wisecracker and punching bag.
Analysis mode 80085. Nothing, buddy. You gotta stop with all that coffee. It's making you loopy. Happy analysis mode.
Happy analysis mode to you too.
God, I love how easily Jerry just goes along with that and says happy analysis mode. It's great. This is conspicuously a joke about how Jerry is dumb and easy to manipulate, but it is actually a joke. Not only is it a joke, it's also just dialogue that needs to happen for the scene to progress. It's an interaction that these characters would have in this situation, written in a way that's kind of funny. And hey, if you didn't find it funny, then the scene still naturally flows as it would do anyway. The joke doesn't obnoxiously beat you over the head with just how funny it thinks it is. Another show where characters often fall into the role of wisecracker and punching bag is Archer. Here's a moment where Cyril, or Spy Jerry, acts as Archer's punching bag.
I'm promoting Cyril to field agent.
What?
Hey, that sounds great. Best of luck.
Where do you think you're going?
Oh, sorry, I gotta get back to Earth before the Stargate closes.
This joke is delivered with an unmistakable dry wit, but on top of that, it's not just some random jab out of nowhere. The point of the scene it is in is characters reacting to the fact that Cyril, formerly an accountant, is becoming an active field agent, and he's gonna go on spy missions and stuff.
Cyril is utterly, laughably unqualified to be a field agent. Some offense.
Some taken.
A scene that's pretty important because the premise of the episode it is in is Cyril becomes a field agent, and let's see how that goes. Archer as a show is written to provide witty and funny character interactions between its main cast. To do this, it creates a fully realized cast of fleshed out characters. Cyril may feel like a punching bag at times. He's not very well respected by most of the other characters, particularly Sterling Archer, who is the main character. He's less willing to stand up for himself than most of the other characters in the show. It's only natural that he feels more like a punching bag than the rest of them do. But he's also a well-realized character in his own right. He finds himself at the butt of jokes as a natural result of his character traits and circumstances. But all of the Archer characters find themselves at the butt of jokes from time to time, and when they do, there's generally more to the joke than just lol, fuck that guy. The dynamics of who you're laughing at and why are often quite complex.
We don't have enough field agents to effectively run our covert operation, especially since this one went and got himself paralyzed.
Yeah, that's me, Mr. Selfish.
More like Ms.
Archer, Rick and Morty, and lots of other great shows have characters that sometimes or even often fulfill the role of the punching bag. But at least in the case of those two examples, if you reduced one of those characters to be nothing but a punching bag, you would have a much worse show. Brickleberry. All of the characters in Brickleberry are 2D caricatures who exist to be dunked on, or to dunk, and also be dunked on as well. Take, for example, Kevin. Kevin? This character is called Steve. Sorry, I don't know why I said Kevin. Take, for example, Steve. He's a weaselly, dumb doormat with an ego and a deformed penis.
Steve, you're a spineless turd. You can't stand up to anyone.
Yes, I can. Sit your ass down. Okay.
The jokes are delivered in painfully obvious and clearly broadcast ways. The most significant way in which they're varied is which of Steve's character traits they're making fun of at the time.
Oh, what is that? Damn, I see your balls, but where's... It looks like you have a vagina with balls. You have a balgina.
This goes on for some time, by the way.
I don't know whether to be grossed out or horny. I'm really confused right now. Oh, okay, there it is. Damn, man. Looks like your dick is stuck in quicksand. Here you go, little fella. Grab onto this and I'll pull you out. I'll get you to safety.
Unlike the characters in Archer, Steve isn't a well-rounded character who falls into this role by virtue of who he is. He's a character who was manufactured to fill this role and do very little else. In that episode of Archer where Cyril becomes a field agent, he actually does pretty well. There are still moments where he gets made fun of for being inexperienced and oblivious.
You remember to check your six.
My six what? Is that my gun? The old six-shooter?
Oh my god, a clock, Cyril. It means behind you.
In a realistic moment that I actually felt in my soul, because that's genuinely the kind of thing I would say. But he's not just there to be the inexperienced buffoon. He's a meticulous planner, he's cautious, and he takes the job seriously.
What's a La Sombra?
Calzado's boss! Don't you remember the dossier?
He's a pretty good liar who's good at thinking on his feet, and he's even able to use his skills in accounting to make his cover story seem more convincing on the fly.
You pay La Sombra 64 cents on every dollar you make, no?
Más o menos, pero...
I can get that down to 30 cents.
Very few of these are traits shared by Archer, who's a more reckless, cavalier, guns blazing type of guy. Cyril proves himself to be a potentially valuable asset to the team on field missions in a way that's perfectly within character for him. Now, in this instance, he doesn't stick the landing. His success in the mission goes to his head, and he starts acting obnoxiously in a way that pisses off his fellow agents, who in turn decide to teach him a lesson.
Yeah, it means hurry. Come on, we got a chopper to catch. Tie him up.
You do it.
And for the end of the episode, Cyril ends up at the butt of the joke.
Look, she will shoot you.
No, I won't.
No, she won't.
Which is fine. The power going to his head is a completely reasonable place to take this fully rounded character. In fact, the episode totally earns this development from him, and in doing so, totally earns all of the jokes they make about it. Now, let's compare this Archer episode where Cyril does well at something to a Brickleberry episode where Steve does well at something. In episode 3 of Brickleberry, Steve goes undercover to try and infiltrate a drug cartel. That was more similar than I was expecting. The episode opens by establishing that there are some drug farmers operating somewhere within Brickleberry Park, the park that they are all park rangers for. Yeah, the show is about park rangers. I haven't actually mentioned that. And the DEA are brought in to deal with it.
I'm your point man here, Special Detective Ranger Enforcer Steve Williams.
We start out with Steve acting like he's some big hotshot detective in front of the DEA guys.
I'm prepared to handle any sort of secret combat or spying mission you require of me.
Yes, Special Detective Williams. You're just the man we want to see.
And it goes about as well as can be expected for the punching bag character.
The feds are on the ground for less than 5 minutes and I already landed a key transport mission.
You carrying that luggage, dumbass.
Now, this scene is a far cry from anything I would call funny, but it's still functional. It comes near the beginning of the episode, and much like that first Archer scene I showed, contains dialogue that needs to take place in some form or another for the story to work. In an episode about Steve getting involved in an investigation, his attitude towards that investigation is a useful thing to establish early on. And you know, they at least tried to do it in a way that was funny. As the story progresses though, nearly all of his dialogue is just there to be like, hey look, he is a doormat, and he is really dumb. Laugh now, please.
Oh, great. Look who it is. Our favorite tree cops, Doofus and Dick Breath. If we see any fish or trees jaywalking, we'll let you know.
You do that. Affirmative. 10-4. Hold it. Stay clear of that shed over there. My 2 DEA buddies are about to bust some marijuana farmers. And they are tough. So tough that they aren't even wearing bulletproof vests.
Thank you. You have been very helpful.
Something must have tipped him off.
Oh, I get it, because of how he's stupid! Yes, I see! You see what I mean about identifying common comedy tropes and just replicating them as if they were the joke in a... Comedies telling jokes involving a character being stupid is an incredibly common occurrence.
He's appointing himself judge, jury, and executioner. He's not judge, jury, and executioner. He is!
It's fertile ground for great comedy.
You look at those morons. I paid my taxes over a year ago.
Dad.
But with Steve, they just make him say the most inhumanly stupid thing he possibly can at any given moment. We're no longer laughing at a character's mistakes. You have an artificial construction that exists just to say, hey, look at me, I'm dumb and oblivious, like every scene. Not only is there no more to the joke than, hey, look, I invented this character and I came up with the idea of making him stupid. Or, you know, substitute stupid for whatever other mockable character trait they're doing that scene.
I'm not self-centered.
Tell me everything there is to know about you.
Me? My favorite subject.
It's also such an incredibly simple role for one of the main characters of a comedy show to have, that 5 minutes into the first episode you see, you're already used to this joke and are waiting for them to move on to something else. But they never do. Ever! Before they encountered Steve's buffoonery and literally died, the DEA agents were planning to meet with some cartel members here undercover as growers from California. But now the DEA agents are dead and Steve is in their meeting spot, so they assume Steve is the person they're there to meet with.
My name is Nikolai. You two must be our new growers from California.
Yeah! We're the new growers from California.
Say what?
There's no avoiding it. In the first version of this video I uploaded, I wildly misinterpreted this scene and then based several of my core criticisms of the episode on that wild misinterpretation. Then took that version of the video down about 20 minutes later when I realized what I'd done. To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Brickleberry. The plot developments are extremely subtle, and without a solid grasp of theoretical physics, they'll go over a typical viewer's head. In this episode of this show, Steve manages to infiltrate the cartel by being extremely dumb in the right place at the right time. This certainly isn't an unworkable concept, but let's see how it progresses.
What is your name, my friend?
Mario?
Mario what?
Brothers?
Why did he say that? Why would any human in the world ever think of that as the thing that they would say? Why? Oh, right, because he's dumb. Now I get it. Now that Steve is actually in the cartel, we just see him repeatedly say the dumbest possible thing over and over again.
All you need to do is make these sick near-death plants flourish like they've never flourished before. You have 1 week.
Oh man, he has to do that or he'll be killed. I wonder what he'll say.
Weeks are for pussies. We can do it by tomorrow.
Okay, Mr. Brothers. Plants grow by tomorrow, or you die.
We've got him right where we want him.
You stupid dumbass!
Oh, I get it, because he's a fucking moron, I see, yeah! That's Steve's role in the episode.
Well, congratulations, Steve. You're the stupidest son of a bitch in the history of Earth. I don't have to take this. They respect me and think I'm a genius. Hey, genius, you just walked into the shitter.
Oh, I get it, because of how Steve is a dumbass. Man, imagine if you couldn't think of a single way you could have a character do something dumb without materializing a bathroom out of nowhere that had literally never been there before. Sometimes Steve's buffoonery works out for him, and sometimes it doesn't, but that seems to happen entirely on a whim, based just on what the writers need to happen for the episode's story. Like, for example, Steve had said that he'd be able to make the plants grow by tomorrow because he assumed the guy he was with would have the necessary skills to make that happen.
How could you promise we could turn this swag into bomb diggity chronic by tomorrow?
Don't you know how to grow this stuff?
I don't grow this shit. I smoke this shit.
So that's clearly an L for Steve, but then, based on this,
his testicles are producing large amounts of testosterone. He'll be full-grown practically overnight.
Steve has the equally stupid idea of fertilizing the plants with testosterone and hoping that'll make them grow literally overnight. And then it does. It works out for him. And I'm not here to tell you, hey, did you know that this wouldn't really work? But all of this means that this story is just watching Steve doing humanly stupid things which then either succeed or fail entirely arbitrarily. Don't worry though, here comes a joke that's not about how he's stupid.
Not to worry. Your pal Mario's got 2 green thumbs. 3 if you count my penis.
It's about how his penis is weird. It's funny because he's got a weird penis. His penis, it's not normal. It's strange.
I am a bald, overweight man with misshapen genitals and proud of it. Soak it in, everybody.
They're so desperate for you to laugh, but all they know how to do is list the conventionally undesirable traits they've attached to this fictional man. Guys, you accidentally left the black box on 90% opacity, and you can see that he doesn't actually have any genitals at all. Brickleberry has 6 main characters, and the rest of them have what you might call similar roles. Take Connie, for example, who exists just to be an overweight, ugly lesbian who looks and sounds like a man and is played by a man. Oh boy, next thing you're gonna tell me they make her predatory. They obviously make her predatory. Just like with Steve's stupidity, Brickleberry often depends on stereotype humor as a cheap crutch.
I make my own goddamn justice. It's looting time up in this bitch. Shit, this is my car.
Sometimes the stereotype is combined with some of their other material, and sometimes it really just is, hey, you know that stereotype, and we put it in the show.
I was a homeless vet, hooked on smack and Thai ladyboys. Once I tasted that sandwich, I realized I had something to live for.
Mr. Woody, time for ding-a-ling-tug-tug.
Change of plans, Pooyang. I am moving out.
Wait, is that actually it? You're not gonna put some kind of joke here? This really is just the comedy version of—
I know what that is!
The Brickleberry fandom wiki, which exists, has a homepage that describes Connie as a butt-ugly lesbian fat ass. And then it moves on to talking about someone else. That black character, by the way, whose name is genuinely Denzel Jackson, is described as the gerontophile token black character. Wait a second, black's not the word they use. Just like Steve, Connie is there just to be shit on a lot, except somehow it feels even more mean-spirited.
You wouldn't loan me money and I need to call my psychic, so I'm selling this hot ass.
How's that been going for you?
Not bad. Most people speed up. One guy swerved to hit me, and a couple hundred shot at me because I thought I was a bison.
We all know Connie's a lumbering Hulk-like affront to humanity, but it's not nice to say it.
That's why I learned sign language.
This place is scarier than the backside of Connie's panties on taco night.
I was your average, everyday little girl. I wanted to please my mother so much.
Time to de-gay the part. Connie, put on this dress. Yow, that's a tough sell. Here.
Hop on in. I have always wanted to have sex with a bison.
Oh. Not only are these jokes delivered without wit, they're also delivered with no meaningful through line from setup to punchline. Take this joke where Connie is talking to Head Ranger Woody Johnson.
Overpopulation of one species is a problem, Woody.
Yeah, I know. So's your camel toe.
The only part of the setup there that carries through to the punchline is the vague idea of something being a problem. Woody then just uses the word problem to then segue into mentioning one of the many traits that the show has given Connie to make fun of. It is in every way comedically equivalent to overpopulation of one species is a problem, Woody. Yeah? Well, your mum is a problem. And then Woody's rantsona folds his arms. Since we've already used Archer as the good example this video, let's do it again. Fuck it, why not? Archer's closest equivalent to Connie would be Pam, a character who fairly regularly ends up at the butt of the joke.
Because this is obviously zucchini.
Oh, like you'd recognize a vegetable that wasn't wrapped in a Monte Cristo sandwich.
What's that supposed to mean?
That is Pam, isn't it?
As well as the jokes being well delivered and witty, enough can't be said for that, Pam also really benefits from being an actual character in her own right, with agency and feelings that go beyond simply having the capacity to feel enough pain so that we can laugh at her for it.
So we have to find a beautiful woman who Archer's never had sex with.
That counts me out.
Me too.
Which part?
Keep it up, Stumplestiltskin.
Oh, would you look at that? They actually let her get a comeback in there. In one arc of the show that I genuinely really like, Archer and Pam start sleeping with each other. The first time it happens, they are both blackout drunk, and the morning after, Archer can't even remember who it was that he had slept with. All he remembers is that the sex was mind-blowingly great.
No, not. Wait, were you? Did we?
Yeah, we did, and you loved it.
No, I was not. I can't.
Archer keeps sleeping with Pam for more mind-blowing sex, but is clearly ashamed of it because he views her to be below his standards. A fact which, get this, Pam actively uses to make fun of Archer.
That's 150 gallons of Pam's hot, dirty ball slap.
But never in public, right? Only at your place, or maybe a hotel, or
on the dirty floor in the elevator.
He's even allowed to have a perspective on the whole thing that's mature and not actively demeaning towards her. A perspective that comes out when she's giving advice to another character in a similar situation.
My point is, if you're confident in yourself as a woman, who cares if he wants to keep it on the DL?
Well, yes, but...
But nothing, because who's to say you're not using him for sex?
And hey, it's not that it's strictly necessary for Pam to come out of this with a mature perspective that's not played off as a joke, but the fact she does is proof that her role as one of the main characters of this show is more than just to absorb cheap shots. Every character in this story has their turn to be at the butt of the joke.
Pam, don't take this the wrong way, but you're not nearly as stupid as you look.
Okay.
It maintains a complex dynamic that allows for all kinds of different jokes to be made and doesn't devolve into its most basic possible form of, haha, look, Archer had sex with the Uggo. Rinse and repeat for 20 minutes. Here's a moment that would never happen in Brickleberry.
Did she really? Oh my God, Pam, you look amazing.
Really?
I mean, you know, relatively.
shit ass.
There's a lot going on in this brief little interaction here. The compliment is clearly genuine coming from Archer, something that wouldn't happen in Brickleberry because it doesn't have any more uses for Connie than lol, look, a fat. But what Archer says next undercuts that, surely. Well, yeah, that's the joke, but it doesn't completely nullify it of any meaning whatsoever. Archer is a crude and crass man who does not hold his tongue to spare people's feelings. That is simply not an instinct that he has in his brain. Him continuing to act within his own character doesn't mean that his first thought when he saw Pam wasn't, oh my god, you look amazing. Then he actively reels himself back because, yeah, he's an asshole. And because Archer isn't so painfully one-note and repetitive, this moment is actually capable of catching you by surprise. If Connie got dressed up in Brickleberry and someone paid her a compliment, it would be suspicious. You know that that's not what she's for in this show. There's an episode in season 3 where Connie thinks she's going to end up hooking up with an attractive woman, but
I can't.
What? Why not?
Because...
You're so ugly!
she ends up being the victim of a reality show that exists just to humiliate people they consider ugly.
The reality show that humiliates unattractive people.
And it's a bit that I actually find pretty difficult to read.
Hey, we're just giving America what it wants. Nothing gets ratings like degrading people, especially a hideous trout-faced monster like Connie.
Because I cannot, for the life of me, tell if you're supposed to be laughing with or at the reality show host. On the one hand, everything he's saying is clearly and overtly spineless. Like, if this character appeared in most other shows, I would not for a second think, maybe you're supposed to be on his side. But on the other, he's outlining a lot of what Brickleberry seems to consider its own core appeal. It doesn't have the multifaceted jokes and complex dynamics of Archer. If you don't find the mere concept of a person being conventionally unattractive funny, be they Connie or Steve with his little peen, then what's the point of, like, most of this show? In fairness, writing a show about fictional characters and going out and degrading real people are very different things, so maybe that's what they perceive to be the difference here. It sure would be awkward if they'd done both of those things, though. A lot of the jokes in Brickleberry clearly don't have any appeal other than, hey look, the character got insulted.
There's an explanation for this.
Yeah, there is. You killed Steve.
He's a murderer!
He's a monster!
Look who's talking.
This is a clip of what I like to consider the show's Connie bashing devolving to a point where it resembles a joke even less than normal. This one doesn't even include a funny word like camel toe. Connie uses the word monster and then someone else in the scene goes, "You're a monster." That's just mean. That line, of course, came from Malloy, the bane of my fucking existence. Malloy is a talking bear cub who had to be adopted by Ranger Woody Johnson after his parents were killed because Family Guy has a talking animal character.
I'll go call for help.
It's also a joke about how Steve is a moron. Compared to Connie or Steve, Malloy represents the opposite end of the spectrum of Brickleberry characters. Being a cynical, unapologetic asshole, his main role in the show is to dish out put-downs, generally targeted at one of the punching bags.
Connie crashed into me and made me spill it all over myself.
But Steve rammed me.
A man rammed Connie? What is this, bullshit day?
You see there, he cleverly pointed out the fact that Connie is a lesbian by expressing incredulity at the notion that she had sex with a man by employing the phrase, "What is this? Bullshit day?" I genuinely find Malloy fucking insufferable because despite the fact that the show clearly knows he's an asshole, it clearly also thinks that he's smart and funny, when actually at any given moment he's spouting the cheapest, most lazily written possible jab at one of the other characters. Take Ethel, who the show tries to dunk on for being sexually promiscuous.
Besides, Ethel, not all of us can get attention by flashing their sloppy beaver at a webcam.
No, I've had all those videos deleted.
Nope, found one.
I'm taking the day off.
Get it? Because Connie is a lesbian. It's a trait that Malloy loves to point out.
So we need a tornado. Is there any way we could fake it?
I've got it.
Gonorrhea, we know. But what about the tornado?
You should have been more specific, Ethel. You really walked into that one. It's the bare minimum amount of effort possible to segue away from the previous thing into just calling Ethel promiscuous. Basically just, the thing that you said? Well, you're a whore.
You look perfect, Ethel.
Goddamn right I do.
I wouldn't say perfect. I would say whore.
He is the most insufferable little shit in the show and he gets dunked on by far the least of anyone.
Sorry, Malloy. I'm just really tired.
I'm really tired too, of having a wheezing elephant seal for an assistant.
The show acts so proud of itself for these as well. It's extremely embarrassing.
I don't associate with anything that ugly.
Yeah, unless it buys you 2 drinks. Then you'll give it a toothy BJ in a public bathroom.
Did I say that?
He wasn't even in that scene, but I guess we would have missed out on that fucking masterpiece of a put down if he didn't push his head through the curtains at that exact moment. The characters are all incredibly simplistic and one note, but the deliberate removal of character for the sake of comedy can be done to great effect. Astuf Movie, a 14-part internet sketch show created by Tom Scott, removes all of the detail that isn't totally necessary for the audience to understand the joke as a deliberate choice.
One of the shittiest directions I've had to keep giving Ben is to basically say, remove the detail, like actually tone down the animation, because one of the reasons I think Astuf Movie works is because it provides the viewer with the bare minimum information, the least amount of distractions from the joke. Like, you only get exactly what's necessary in the character design and the backgrounds to be like, this is that thing. You want to show a doctor? You just put that little circle thing with the strap on his head. Like, no one even knows what that is anymore, but for some reason we're just like, that is a doctor.
Every episode of the show consists of a series of individual jokes that are a couple of seconds each.
Oh, what kind of dog is he?
He's French.
And then that's it. You probably never see those characters ever again. In fact, they are really not characters as much as they are devices for telling the joke. And as much as I'll miss French Dog, that's the price we pay for comedy.
I'm gonna do an internet. Well, I'm gonna do a book. Oh.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 Astuf movies.
Fuck off. Sometimes characters come back, like the I Like Trains kid or the Butt. Tom, this clip is just here as a cruel joke. I'm sorry, I know you hate it. When you watch a joke like this...
That's my boy. No, my boy! Father, help!
Yeah, you can really see this approach on full display. Where are the characters? In a blank, empty void. Background detail only appears in the form of clouds when you need something to provide perspective on which way Ball Man is traveling in the scene. Who are the characters? A man with a mustache and a pipe to denote that he is an older gentleman, and a person with absolutely no discernible features whatsoever. It's not just a visual thing, you don't have any context on who these people are, and the joke is clearly specifically crafted for that to be the case. If you took the jokes from Astuf Movie and put them in a show where they were delivered by well-rounded, fully fleshed out characters, a lot of them would suffer as a result. Going into each joke with a character you know, you would have preconceived notions of the kind of thing they're likely to do and the kind of thing they're likely to say and what their relationship with other characters is. If you were intimately familiar with the character in the "This is a robbery" joke and knew that he was apathetic to this kind of thing, then him putting the phone down and walking away wouldn't be the surprise that it is without that context. It is entirely possible that Brickleberry could construct a load of jokes that work really well within the framework they've built up. Comedy that's been specifically written to be delivered by hollow caricatures and that wouldn't work as well if it was delivered by fully rounded characters.
Yes! Pay up. I don't think that's your ball, Steve.
Fuck off. So let's take a look at how the jokes are constructed with reference to the context they're presented in. Surely it's not going to get worse. Episode 1 of Series 2 is called Miracle Lake, and it's about a lake that heals the sick if they get dunked in it. Here's the scene where we've already seen Woody find out about it and he's telling the other rangers.
So what's this big important news?
Yeah, Woody, what are we doing?
Yes!
Already I want to say that this is a joke that's made worse by the fact that the characters are all caricatures and that Connie is always a punching bag. I mean, it's clearly going for shock and surprise value, right? And ultimately it's something that a lot of characters might actually do if they know that this is a lake that heals any ailment. I mean, Archer would definitely do this to Cyril, come on. But surely this would be more shocking and impactful if all of these people were well-rounded characters and Connie wasn't the victim of completely consequence-free violence every other episode, in a show where the universe itself seems to hate her. Her page on the Brickleberry fandom wiki has a section dedicated to insults she's received over the course of the show, like bloated ginger she-beast, which she gets called by Steve, or ginger dragon, which she gets called by Obama, or carpet-munching vaginosaurus, which she gets called by the Freak Show Ringmaster, a character who is genuinely played by Mark Hamill.
The carpet-munching vaginosaurus!
Hey, Connie is not a freak!
Lucas, let me take your picture with the big ugly freak.
Oh hey, I remember that clip. I mean, the fans, they know what she's for as a character, and that's precisely the point. All of that context clearly lessens the impact of this joke. Well, alright, let's see how the scene carries on.
Oh my god, she's completely healed!
And my rash is gone.
I wonder if it cures bitch.
Oh, I get it, because of how Malloy is an asshole.
I think my hymen just grew back.
Oh, I get it, because she's had sex.
Don't worry, it'll be gone after happy hour.
I mean, that was actually pretty witty for him. Woody then explains to everyone that this lake can heal people.
This lake cures any ailment, from the common cold to cancer.
You could have just told us.
This way was more fun.
And then when Steve protests,
how were you sure it would work? Connie could have...
I could get used to this.
Malloy shoots him because Malloy is an asshole, I guess? Sure. The episode then sets up a couple of its multiple subplots, like Woody wanting to use the lake to make a profit, or Malloy wanting to go snowboarding.
Nah, we got a lot of work to do.
Work? You're supposed to take me snowboarding today.
Malloy continues to act in the way that he acts.
Wait, you've never seen snow?
Could someone explain to the diversity hire that bears hibernate?
Take it easy on Denzel. He's had a rough day.
And then shoots Steve again. Prompted by Connie, Denzel then goes into a speech about how he's feeling, which starts with the words, "I had a dream."
I had a dream. Then I realized that dream. And now, shit!
Sorry, I couldn't listen to any more of that.
Ethel then shoots Denzel, I guess, sure. And then Malloy gives us this knee slapper.
God, this would be so much more satisfying if that lake wasn't there.
Of all the characters in this scene, Malloy is the one who's leaned on most heavily for the jokes. But at the end of the day, it's using all of the characters in a similar way. Nearly every joke in the scene is just an example of a character acting in the way or getting treated in the way that they normally do. At any given moment in the scene, ask yourself, what's the most snide, obnoxious, and malicious thing that Malloy could do here, and that's what he does. Malloy being an entirely one-note, simplistically written caricature asshole is an excuse for him to just treat people like shit the whole time because the writers think that a character getting treated like shit is funny. The fact that they're all caricatures that fulfill these incredibly simplistic roles isn't enhancing the comedy, it's facilitating it to begin with. If Malloy was a more well-rounded character, it wouldn't mean that the moments where he's a dick were less funny. I mean, how could they be less funny? But what his being a caricature to this extent does achieve is that there are just way more of these moments. Minimal effort goes into crafting the actual joke, the actual moment that Malloy is mean to someone. They just try to have him be mean to someone as much as they possibly can. Why else would they have him randomly show up in a scene he wasn't even in to deliver a random obnoxious insult that was mediocre at best?
I don't associate with anything that ugly.
Yeah, unless it buys you 2 drinks, then you'll give it a toothy BJ in a public bathroom.
Did I say that?
Multiple times.
We were on our 10th dick.
Sounds like Ethel on a slow weekend. Gam Gam bought me this, by the way. See you later, assholes.
Case in point, by the end of the Miracle Lake episode, the Miracle Lake has lost its miracleness and is now just a lake with no healing properties whatsoever. In fact, now it dissolves people.
What difference could it make?
Oh. Steve, who sees all of the patrons of the Miracle Lake getting dissolved, decides to express concern.
What did you do? All these people are dying.
Malloy, it doesn't heal people anymore.
Malloy cuts him off mid-sentence by shooting him, and then Woody tells Malloy, "Malloy, you dumb idiot! The lake, it doesn't heal people anymore." Malloy then delivers this line.
Yeah, I know.
That's clearly supposed to be funny by subverting your expectations, but you're just watching it like, yeah, I know! He's been expressing that this is how he feels all episode. Why did you even bother trying to lead the audience to think that he thought anything else? The first thing we see him do this episode is cheer with joy when he sees Connie get shot and doesn't know that the lake will heal her. Yes! He thinks she's just been killed. And if that was a little bit too subtle for your brain, he then spends the rest of the scene doing this.
I wonder if it cures bitch.
Connie could have been...
I could get used to this.
He's had a rough day.
And then closes off by explicitly stating that he wishes they weren't being healed.
God, this would be so much more satisfying if that lake wasn't there.
And then this setup comes.
Malloy, it doesn't heal people anymore.
I wonder what the subversion will be.
Yeah, I know.
And then they cut to their vanity card. That's the joke they end the episode on. That joke was not good to begin with. It was very clearly and conspicuously leading the audience in one direction, making it really obvious what the punchline was going to be. The punchline was conspicuously broadcast by the setup. But do you think that maybe it's made slightly worse by the context of Malloy being a caricature the whole time. If he was a well-rounded character who ever did anything other than be the biggest asshole he possibly could, not only would the audience understand that there was the potential for him to say literally anything else here, he probably wouldn't have explicitly stated the punchline that's supposed to be a surprise earlier in the episode. To be clear, they are not caricatures because it improves the comedy in any way. It makes the comedy significantly worse in obvious ways, but it is a cheap crutch the writers depend on the whole time. What is this? Bullshit day? When you look at some of their previous work, it's no surprise that the show's creators, Roger Black and Waco Gwen, think just shoving as many insults into each episode as they can is the perfect recipe for comedy. All the way back in the year 2000, the pair premiered a character called Yoko the Clown in a screening at the Georgia Theatre.
Hey, little boy, how you doing?
Little boy.
You want some candy?
No, I'm cool on that.
Poodle skirts. You look like dogs. Hey, you frickin' nerd. Shouldn't you be home doing somebody's math homework?
The theatre was later burnt to the ground. The majority of the comedy they did with the character consists of him going out and just insulting random members of the public.
That light too bright for you?
It is kind of,
You're kind of squinting.
Haha, he said something racist to a person. He is so funny and clever. Truly, the world of comedy shall suffer now that for some reason people consider this to be unacceptable. For reasons about which we can only speculate, they then often cut away from the random member of the public before they had a chance to react.
What's your name?
My name is I Hate Fat Ugly Chicks. What's your name?
Hey, we're just giving America what it wants. Nothing gets ratings like degrading people.
There is an element here, though, that Brickleberry is missing. These are real people getting insulted. Now, I don't think this is funny. I think it's obnoxious. It just makes me feel sorry for the people involved and makes me want to go get my Kindling. But being objective about it, I do have to admit that there is an element of shock value here that Brickleberry just can't replicate. And as a result of me knowing that he really went out and did this, sometimes Yucko the Clown is funny on a good day, because there were real, actual people who genuinely had to process the thing that just happened. I laughed at this, because as far as I'm aware, I am watching real footage of a screaming clown interrupting someone's frisbee game and running away with the frisbee. It's just a shame about the other 99% of his jokes. But if the same thing happened in a scripted show, particularly in a scripted show with hollow caricature characters that you're not even supposed to be invested in or care about, why would you give a shit? Miracle Lake literally ends with Steve getting shot in the chest with a shotgun and then falling into a lake that dissolves you. Next episode, he's just back and everyone acts like this never even happened. The show has clearly established that there aren't going to be realistic consequences and that the characters don't have realistic feelings. Unlike when they went out and did all this stuff in real life, when the punchline is that something bad happens to Steve, you can't laugh because you empathize with him or you understand the consequences of what you've just seen happen. All you have left to laugh at is the idea of the thing happening. Its construction and presentation, which might work for stuff like Astif Movie, but is bad news for this show.
Malloy, I'm on a mission. Play along.
Not a problem. Hey, who wants to take this guy's anal virginity?
Thanks, Malloy. You're a real pal. Wait, take what?
If you think you've already seen just how badly Brickleberry broadcasts exactly what its punchlines are going to be before it's even delivered them, you are correct, but it goes further.
Hello, Chang.
Malloy, how you get here?
I took a plane, but that doesn't matter. I am here to destroy you in person. Oh my God, I had no idea. It was...
He's gonna be really happy that he's disabled because it's easier to beat him up.
It's gonna be this easy.
Yeah. Here's a joke that's good at keeping its punchline a surprise.
I'm mid-40s. I have no pension plan in place. I have no pension sorted at all. Having said that, I'm in show business. I may well spend my 70s in jail.
As a generalization, it's going to be much harder to make an audience laugh if they can word for word predict every punchline of every joke you deliver. But you still need to set up your punchline, or it'll be meaningless. As a result of this, a huge aspect of the comedic art form is to set up your punchline in a way that doesn't broadcast it to your audience. That joke I just played from stand-up comedian Hal Cruttenden is a great example of this. He wants to joke about particular celebrity scandals, but sets it up by talking about old age and pensions, a topic that's only tangentially related, meaning that the punchline isn't totally random, it is set up, but it's not predictable either. For a substantially weaker example, let's turn to the comedy show Fresh Meat, a show that's actually pretty good and definitely doesn't deserve to be introduced with the sentence, for a substantially weaker example, let's turn to the comedy show Fresh Meat. Still, not all of its jokes are 10 out of 10, so let's take a look at this one. In this scene, these two characters have recently formed a band together. So far, this guy, who is called Kingsley and not called Simon, has written all of the songs. But the vocalist, Oregon, has a song of her own that she'd quite like to try.
I've got one. A song.
You write?
Well, I wouldn't call it writing, per se. I'm actually a bit embarrassed to play it to you, but it goes kind of, on a dusty road.
And the joke is that despite her having talked it down so much, her song is actually really good, and clearly outclasses anything that Kingsley has played up until this point. The show often leans on Oregon's distinctly self-conscious brand of modesty for comedy. For this particular gag, the setup is perfectly natural, it's definitely something her character would say, but it very clearly broadcasts what the punchline will be to the audience. Brickleberry is rarely, if ever, even as good as that.
What do you comrades need? Nothing is too good for you.
Oh, we're simple men. We don't need much.
It has identified the fact that subversive punchlines are a trope.
Steve, this undercover stuff has been fun, but I'm a little worried we're getting in too deep.
Don't be ridiculous.
Gentlemen, your lunch as requested. An endangered white tiger carcass full of crunch berries.
And so spends exactly zero effort injecting every scene full of lazy, artificial subversions.
We've sacrificed everything to eliminate the evil scourge that is drugs. Now, come on, let's do some blow and relax.
In a way that'll be all too familiar to a lot of you, events in the show are nearly always preceded by a character clunkily declaring that they're not about to happen.
My dad is back, and he hasn't changed a bit.
Take this gag, for example.
Tell me what you plan to do with Steve.
Oh, we won't hurt him.
So that was already a garbage tier joke, right? But the implementation of it is even lazier than it first appears. Why does that guy lie and say he's not gonna hurt Steve? No reason. He's actually perfectly happy to admit that they plan to experiment on Steve until he dies.
When are you gonna let Steve go?
I'm afraid I can't do that.
What do you mean?
I mean, your friend will not leave this base alive.
He has no reason to tell that lie at all, but the writers just make him say it anyway because they can't be bothered to earn this shit, worthless joke. Or take this joke where Woody has a new type of cute animal that he plans to exploit to bring the park more attention.
Please don't make a spectacle of this poor animal.
I would never do that.
Again, this one was already a million miles away from being funny, but they didn't even earn it. Two of Woody's most significant character traits are self-interest and speaking his mind. The cute animal is only here because earlier in the episode, Woody sent Steve out to go and find a cute animal he could exploit for attention.
We're gonna find something even more adorable than their shitty white buffalo.
And back then, when Ethel objected, he made no effort to pretend he cared.
We shouldn't exploit animals for monetary gain just because Yellowstone is.
I agree with Ethel.
So who's gonna find me an animal these dopey tourists can't resist?
So again, it's not actually something he has any reason to say whatsoever. He just randomly declares that he's not going to do something that he fully intends to do because that totally won't make the punchline even more predictable than it was already. And oh boy, you better believe the show is absolutely stuffed to the brim with these.
Trust me, guys. I won't let it go to my head. Gather round, my people. I am your new king.
I promise not to spend your dead mama's fortune on anything frivolous. Woo! Jetpack,
I will never apologize to a woman. And if that bothers you, Ethel, well, I apologize.
You just apologize.
Did he?
I'm always high, huh? That's messed up. It's 420!
Really? You are telling me that proud stoner Denzel is actively offended by someone suggesting that he is always high? This guy. Really?
How bad can it be? It's not like you're gonna have withdrawals.
Why, you dirty piece of
Don't lose your temper, Woody. We can handle this like adults. We are going to kill her.
Well, I've learned a lesson to respect and protect my staff.
You left the top off the Cool Whip, asshole!
Think about how Connie feels. She's been in love with Ethel for years.
Oh, I'm totally over it. Off topic, if you guys had to get murdered in the workplace, would you prefer an AR-15 or being hacked up with a machete?
Good thing he didn't get my favorite finger.
So he spent 2 decades by himself in a small tower?
Wow, he's lucky he didn't go nuts.
You're the devil. I will burn you.
We need to show these applicants that working here is serious business.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da! Pow! Got her!
The show is just so funny.
I don't get preferential treatment because of my looks. He gives out drinks because he's a nice guy.
Can I get a glass of tap water?
Beat it, SeaWorld.
And I'm gonna end the compilation here, and believe me when I say that's because the compilation is getting too long, and not because I am anywhere near running out of material to put in the compilation, all of it ranging from embarrassingly lazy to extremely embarrassingly lazy. Like this moment where Kevin wants to impress a girl and is just given the advice not to do anything embarrassing.
Start by not doing any of your usual embarrassing vagina dehydrating shit.
Don't worry. I'm sure nothing will call attention to me in a negative manner today.
Happy Kevin Sucks Day!
I'm sorry, what was the actual dialogue there? Don't worry, I'm sure nothing will call attention to me in a negative light today. You just couldn't rephrase that to be clunkier and less natural. Wait a second, who the fuck are any of these characters?